Hi, my name's Liss. I'm an addict. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. When I was a child, I actually grew up in the suburbs with my mother and father. I had an older brother and a younger sister. Our household was a little bit chaotic. My mom, total saint, still is today. My father was a little bit more difficult to deal with. He had untreated alcoholism and a lot of mental health issues going on. So growing up, I basically learned not to talk about my feelings, and I spent a lot of time in my room. I listened to a lot of music, did a lot of artwork. Those were the things that kept me sane, I guess, for the longest time. Just between my parents, my mom was always trying to smooth things over and make it okay. But there was so much going on with my dad all the time. I was really afraid of him. He was just really, not physical, but really verbally abusive and emotionally abusive. And I had a really hard time with that since I couldn't talk about my feelings. My family, we didn't show affection. We didn't discuss these things. I spent a lot of time, like I said, in my room. And I'd say it went on, it continued on, just never knowing how to deal with things. When I was in my teens, though, a great thing, I think, growing up as well is having my mom. There was my grandfather. I was super close to him. He'd come down every Wednesday. We called it Poppy Day. And he'd take us out to eat, and he'd give us all $1. So we'd go to the store and find some cool knick-knack. And on the weekends, we'd go and visit my grandparents, too. So that was kind of a safe haven for me. And things drastically changed, I think, for me. The first thing I really noticed was I was about 15, and he had an inoperable brain tumor. So he passed away, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I spent a lot of time in my room, listening to music, trying to cope, but I didn't know what to do with those feelings. I think there are a lot of mental health issues in our family, and I think not only having that gene in me being predisposed, like I don't know it's going to happen, but I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, this is in me. I had a lot of those behaviors and tendencies. So I started self-injuring, I started cutting, because I just didn't know what to do. And so I got through high school. I would say at the very end, my senior year, there was a birthday party. That was the first time that I had ever really experimented with anything, because I was so terrified to be like my dad. I was afraid of actually doing drugs. I thought it was really dangerous. But this point came where I was like, well, why not, try drinking? It's totally legal, not a big deal. And my first drink, I didn't get sick. I drank and it got me out of me. It changed things in my mind so much. I felt completely different, and I wasn't worrying about those feelings or thoughts anymore. I was in a completely different place. I was really shy growing up. I had a lot of difficulty talking to people. So, it made it so easy. I could talk to people, I could do things. I wasn't afraid. I didn't have to worry about the way that my words came out or being judged. I thought like I could express these feelings now. So it seemed great. So at this point I think, well, obviously it's not that bad. Nothing bad happened to me, so I can just do whatever. And being young, I had this thought pretty much that, I'm invincible. I can, there aren't consequences, so I'm just gonna do what I do. I moved to Seattle for a little while. I wanted to be a photojournalist. And so I'd applied to school and gotten into the Art Institute of Seattle out there. I had moved with a boyfriend, and we didn't drink or use while we were out there, but I couldn't start school right away. I didn't have the funding. So I hung on as long as I could. But I always had my parents to rely on if anything went wrong. And I was homesick, so I decided, this isn't working, I can't start school yet because I don't have the money, I'm just gonna go home. So I threw in the towel and decided to come home. And that's when things got really crazy. I met a guy, and continuing on this route where I think that I'm young and I can do whatever and it's no big deal. And at the same time, I think with the untreated depression going on too, like I didn't care. So he introduced me actually to crystal meth. And we tried all different kinds of things. This was a long relationship that went on, and he introduced me to all different kinds of substances. And yet again, I didn't have consequences, or I didn't think that I had consequences. Being evicted from an apartment, or almost getting in trouble with the law, that didn't seem like a big deal to me. Getting a car impounded. My parents were always there to bail me out, so it was no big deal. After we had split up though, I was hanging out with friends, and they had asked me if I wanted to try heroin. Heroin is my drug of choice. And at the time, I'm like, well, you know, I already tried crystal meth, and that's pretty much terrible, right? And I was fine, which I wasn't, but, you know, I thought I was fine, so why not try it? So I tried it, and the first time I did it, I just had such a cynical, like, outlook on life. I remember sitting there and telling them, I was like, I had a paper Burger King crown on my head, and I remember being like, I want this to be like a Lifetime original movie. And so it was kind of with several after-school specials so far. But the first time I tried it, I loved it. I didn't get sick. We went out and about. I talked to people. It just felt like it just fixed everything. It fixed everything. I wasn't sad. I wasn't fearful. I didn't notice that depression. All of that was gone. So yeah, I instantly loved it. And being an addict, I did it that day, and I did it the next day, and then I did it the day after that. And then after a couple days, I started feeling weird. I didn't know what was happening to my body. I thought something was wrong, and it was because I was going into withdrawal, and I didn't know that. And my friend told me, well, come up here and we'll fix that. And fixing that meant using more. I had no idea the gravity of things at that time, but I went with it. And not to go into great detail, but basically, it's been a rough road the last couple years. I've tried many things. I've been court ordered. I got in trouble. Misdemeanor charges, still charges though, and was ordered to go through an inpatient rehab in 2009. I tried that. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. That's the thing. It's important to, I gotta be ready. I gotta have that willingness and just know that this is it. And at that time I still thought, you know, no big deal. There was like this, I had this like dual existences going on, because part of me wanted things to get better and to live life, and the other part of me just wanted to die. So I went through the inpatient treatment, just kind of not taking it seriously, and I used the day that I got out. I also tried methadone for about a year. I've done IOP. I've done a lot of different things. It always caught up with me though. Enough so that in 2011 I ended up catching some drug-related charges, and I thought that the judge would maybe give me a break, seeing I didn't have any felonies, and give me some kind of probation, I guess. But he sent me to prison, and that was the best thing that could have happened at that time. I needed a serious timeout. Throughout my youth, different things had happened. When I was on the methadone, my brother actually, he had used some different substances, one of them being heroin. He mixed pills, heroin, different things, and he had ended up overdosing, and he died. And I just kept using. I was angry about it because I felt like, you know, I was trying to change my life. I was taking this methadone, you know, but if heroin can't have me, it's going to take someone else. So I didn't last too long on the methadone until I was back on the heroin. And in that time period as well, right before going to prison, My sister, I believe due to untreated mental health issues with depression, as well as her being an addict and just never treating that, never actually getting into a program of recovery, things got really dark for her. And she ended up committing suicide in my mom's backyard. And that was crazy to me. I didn't know how to deal with it. I was still using, so the only thing I knew how to do was to use even more. My dad was ill as well, so he passed away about 3 months later. He had lung cancer. And so I just continued to do what I do, and that's what led up to me going to prison. And in that time, though, something started to change. I got to the point where I was starting to get really tired. Something changed, and I just knew that I didn't want the things that had happened in my life already. I didn't want that time to be wasted. I didn't want those lessons to be wasted. And I felt like I wanted to live my life for my family, you know, especially for my siblings. They were both in their 20s when they died, so just knowing like they didn't have the opportunity, so why not do something different? So I did a lot. I made the most of my time when I was in there. I got a CPR certification. I took a class about green jobs and recycling, helped facilitate a writing class, did as much as I could. And when I got out of there, that was when I was first really introduced into the idea of a program of recovery. And it was difficult at first. That's the thing. I'm not going to say that it was easy. I was so uncomfortable with myself, and I felt so guilty, and I guess so much trauma and grief over the things in my past that I knew I wanted it to be different, but I didn't think that I could do it. I was afraid to talk to people, just didn't really know how to function even. And over time, I learned a lot from these people, and people started to reach out to me. That's a great thing. When I decided to make that change, you know, they knew that I was ready. And I did fairly well. I did fairly well for a while. The one thing that I did not address, though, was my mental health. And I think that's a huge thing, because not only will I say that, you know, I'm an addict, I will say that I definitely do struggle with depression, clinical depression, and I needed to get help for that too. And I think it's important that people know not to ever be ashamed of that either. There's got to be a balance. And I'm not using that as an excuse for my relapse that happened. There were many things that I wasn't doing. I started isolating. I wasn't reaching out to people. I wasn't going to meetings. I wasn't doing any of that anymore. I just didn't care again. And I relapsed, and I went back out for a couple months, and, you know, thank God I made it back. And I went into a treatment center, and they helped me address my mental health issues, and they helped me address a lot of that grief and trauma. And they taught me the importance of reaching out to other people, that I can't do this alone. And those things were really huge lessons, things that I didn't realize before. And so I've been taught all these different tools, and after leaving that treatment center, that was, I guess, the time to really continue to grow. I've had so many wonderful opportunities since then, just being involved with others and being active. The walk that happened was so great. There was one in Ravenna as well that they did that I was able to participate in. But it was just huge for me to be there and see all those people. The gratitude, you know, like, it's overwhelming to see so many people there for themselves, for friends, for loved ones, because it can get so dark. And not everybody makes it, and it's really scary right now. I feel so grateful that I was able to take the steps that I took and have this opportunity today. It's really important for me. I volunteer There's a group of us, it's kind of like an aftercare program through where I went to treatment. We volunteer a lot, and that's another thing that helps me, is being able to help other people. We do all different kinds of things, serve food, we clean, whatever's asked of us. But I mean, that's huge for me too, being able to do things for somebody other than myself, because they're just still, reality hits hard. Just because I'm in recovery and I'm doing what I need to do doesn't mean that life's not going to get crazy sometimes or be really hard. The biggest thing, though, that I know that I've learned is no matter how dark that it gets, it doesn't ever stay like that. Sometimes it feels like I'm in this moment, in this situation, and all the things that have happened or that I've done, and then I let it overwhelm me and I start thinking, well, maybe it's not ever going to get better. But it has been getting better. It's as simple as looking, sometimes when I have those moments, as I pray about it, I do, and even little things like looking at my phone and looking through those pictures, like the pictures of everybody at the walk or at different events that we've done. And when I feel like things are so dark and I look at that, I realize that my life is so full. I'm still building things up. I'm trying to clear up that wreckage of my past, and I'm still climbing that ladder, and I'm sure I always will be. Don't have a car yet, but I'm working on it. I enrolled in school this fall for veterinary technology, and those are huge. I mean, just little things like that. I never thought that I'd get back to that. I thought I'm just gonna die a junkie, and that was okay, that was sufficient before. But it's such a joy to be able to be so involved, and the new people that are deciding, like, hey, it's, because when I looked at it, I always thought, like, the people that were out partying, like, they were the cool people, and I was never cool, so maybe I wanted that. And now when I look at the people that surround me and the things that we're doing, like canoe trips and bonfires and bowling and normal people stuff like going to Walmart, there's so much joy in it. And I realized that, that all those simple things are what's the most important. And people tell me all the time, like, you look so happy. You're happy all the time. And happiness to me is not the absence of struggle, but it's gratitude, knowing that things are going to get better and that they have. Like, we can take all these hurts, these terrible things that we've been through and that we've done, and in recovery we can use those things as fuel to make something beautiful. They say that it takes so many thousands of pounds of pressure to make a piece of coal into a diamond. So if we can look at all those past hurts and use them for something great. And I see the people around me, and all we want to do is help. And anybody who wants it can join in. Anybody who wants it can start, and it doesn't matter how many times you've tried. It doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. None of that matters. We all share this common bond. We've struggled and we've been to those dark places, but we can get out of them, and we do that through helping each other. And so for people who are thinking about, can I do this or not? You definitely can. And there are so many people that just want to see you do good and want to help you. And I know that there are so many good people that if we can just do anything to make it a little better, to help each other, to make life just a little bit sweeter, we're going to do it. A lot of it, sometimes it's simple enough as maybe going to the ADM. That's where I went. I went to ADM and let them know I need help, I need an assessment, and they got me in, getting into detox. When you're there, they discuss different treatment options with you too. I would not change that for anything. I would not change any of the things that have transpired so far for anything. I think that it has made me a really strong person. It's made me an even more caring person. And it's like everybody out there, we just want to see each other get it. We just want to see you get it. And it's so doable. It's just, if you put a little bit of work in, these people are going to help you. They're going to put work in too. You don't have to do it by yourself. I just don't, it makes me sad when I see all these people and all these names in the newspaper, because it can totally be different and you can totally do it. And I've had a million times in my life where I thought that I couldn't, or that maybe I didn't even want to. And sometimes it's so hard to see that light at the other end of the tunnel when you're in the dark place. But sometimes I just have to have that faith to know that it's there.